아빠, 바꿔.
The Passion of the Christ wasn't just a movie, it was a phenomenon that ripped through Hollywood and divided audiences worldwide. Brutal, unflinching, and unforgettable, it became one of the most controversial films of all time. Behind the blood-soaked visuals were shocking truths, hidden details, and choices that shaped cinema forever. Today, we're uncovering 20 facts that reveal just how wild this film really was. When Mel Gibson first pitched The Passion of the Christ, Hollywood executives recoiled. They called it box office poison, claiming it was too violent, too political, and too religious to ever succeed. They warned Gibson it would destroy his career and begged him to abandon the idea. But Gibson wasn't chasing profit. He was chasing faith. Determined to see it through, he risked everything, pouring $30 million of his own fortune into the project, setting the stage for history. The Passion wasn't born in a boardroom. It was born in Gibson's darkest days. He admitted he was consumed by addiction, anger, and despair when the project took root. For him, telling Christ's final hours was an act of survival, a way of confessing his sins and searching for redemption. Every scene drips with urgency. You don't simply watch the Passion, you endure it. The rawness exists because for Gibson it wasn't art as entertainment, it was art as penance. Though the story takes place in Jerusalem, not a single scene was filmed there. Instead, Gibson recreated the biblical city in Matera, Italy, a town carved from stone. Its rugged caves and weathered walls looked older than history itself, perfectly capturing the agony of the story. Local residents became extras, entire neighborhoods transformed into ancient Judea. By choosing Matera, Gibson created a world that felt both authentic and timeless, a city that seemed to echo with centuries of faith and suffering. Every line of dialogue in The Passion was spoken in Aramaic and Latin, languages most audiences had never heard. Gibson initially refused to include subtitles, insisting the story could be understood through raw imagery and emotion alone. Studios panicked, fearing audiences would reject it. The project almost collapsed before completion. At the last moment, Gibson relented, adding subtitles that transformed confusion into clarity. Without them, the film might have been an art house experiment. With them, it became a worldwide phenomenon. Gibson didn't rely only on scripture for his story. He drew heavily from the visions of 19th-century German nun Anne Catherine Emmerich, whose writings described graphic details of Christ's final hours. These visions added haunting scenes not found in the Gospels, like Judas tormented by demons and Mary gathering Christ's blood from the ground. Historians debate their authenticity, but for Gibson, they were essential. They gave his film the intensity of a nightmare mixed with faith. Keep watching, the next one's even crazier. Jim Caviezel, who played Jesus, endured terrifying injuries. During filming, lightning struck the set, hitting both him and the assistant director. While carrying the heavy wooden cross, his shoulder dislocated, and every scream you hear is real pain. In the scourging scene, a whip accidentally tore into his back, leaving scars he still carries. Hours strapped to a freezing cross pushed him to hypothermia. This wasn't acting, it was agony. Caviezel later admitted the role left him shattered physically, emotionally, and spiritually. In one of the most haunting choices, Mel Gibson personally played the hands hammering nails into Christ's palms. For him, it wasn't just a cameo, it was confession. He explained that humanity's sins placed Jesus on the cross, and he wanted his guilt permanently burned into the story. The shot is subtle, almost hidden, but powerful. By physically driving the nails himself, Gibson wasn't only directing a crucifixion, he was confessing his own role in it, a shocking statement of faith. Actress Maya Morgenstern, who portrayed Mary, kept a quiet secret on set. She was pregnant during filming. She revealed it only to Caviezel, whispering in her Romanian accent, "I have baby in stomach." This revelation gave her performance unique weight. As she played the sorrow of a mother watching her son die, she was also carrying new life inside her. The irony was profound. Amid the brutality of the Passion, Mary's grief was infused with the hidden hope of resurrection. The film's most iconic image, Mary holding Christ's broken body after the crucifixion, wasn't original. It was modeled directly after Michelangelo's La Pietà, the masterpiece in St. Peter's Basilica. Gibson studied the sculpture's sorrow and stillness, then recreated it on screen. The result is a frame that transcends cinema, echoing centuries of sacred art. It was instantly recognized by audiences. For many, it transformed brutal violence into reverence, grounding the film's ending in timeless beauty that felt closer to prayer than performance. To embody Satan, Gibson cast Italian actress Rosalinda Celentano and stripped away gender markers. Shaved eyebrows, pale, ghostly makeup, and an unsettling presence made the devil unplaceable, disturbing yet strangely familiar. Her chilling performance, including scenes of cradling a grotesque child, unsettled audiences deeply. Gibson wanted Satan to defy stereotypes, not a monster with horns, but a presence that feels uncanny and hard to escape. Viewers were shocked. Some called it hypnotic, others horrifying. Keep watching because the next fact will shake you even more. The brutality shocked even Hollywood's censors. The scourging, the nails, the endless blood critics insisted it was beyond R-rated cinema. The MPAA debated slapping The Passion with an NC-17, a label that would have destroyed its box office chances. Gibson refused to tone it down. To him, sanitizing Christ's suffering was betrayal. Eventually, the film barely escaped with an R rating. Ironically, that label only fueled curiosity. Audiences flocked to see the too violent film. What was supposed to kill it became part of its legend, a marketing tool no studio could have engineered. From the beginning, Jewish leaders warned Gibson's portrayal of the Sanhedrin and priests risked reviving one of history's most dangerous accusations, that Jews collectively killed Christ. When the film released, protests erupted. Some saw the Jewish leaders' cruelty exaggerated to villainous extremes. Gibson defended himself, saying he followed scripture faithfully. Yet for many, the imagery was damaging, reopening centuries-old wounds. Newspapers filled with fiery op-eds, rabbis voiced concerns, and the debate spilled into politics. The Passion became more than a movie. It was a lightning rod, reigniting painful arguments about faith, history, and responsibility that still echo to this day. In multiple countries across the Middle East and even beyond, governments outright banned the Passion of the Christ. Officials claimed it was too provocative, too likely to stir religious conflict, or simply too politically dangerous. But the bans only fueled demand. Pirated DVDs spread quickly and underground screenings drew crowds. For some, watching Gibson's vision became an act of rebellion. It wasn't just cinema, it was defiance. The forbidden status elevated it from controversial film to cultural symbol, a movie people whispered about, traded in secret, and risked consequences to experience. What Hollywood feared, censorship made irresistible worldwide. Despite the uproar, Catholic audiences embraced The Passion of the Christ wholeheartedly. In 2004, readers of the National Catholic Register voted it the most pro-Catholic movie ever made, even surpassing classics like Ben-Hur. Churches rallied behind it, buying out entire theaters, transforming screenings into spiritual events. Pastors preached about it from pulpits. Prayer groups treated it as devotion, not entertainment. Even Gibson's earlier films like Braveheart made the list. For believers, it wasn't just cinema, it was testimony. The Passion became less about art and more about a collective act of faith projected on the big screen. Hollywood braced for boycotts, but instead, churches mobilized like never before. Congregations pooled money to rent theaters, pastors urged members to invite non-believers, and buses ferried entire towns to screenings. The result? Packed theaters across America filled not by advertising but by faith. Screenings often ended in prayer, with some moviegoers leaving in tears. What studios thought would flop became a grassroots phenomenon. Gibson had tapped into an audience Hollywood ignored, one that could turn faith into ticket sales. And yet, the biggest shock was still ahead. Keep watching, because what came next, no one predicted. When the film finally opened, critics expected disaster. Instead, ticket lines wrapped around blocks, rural towns, suburban churches, even busloads from small parishes packed multiplexes. The movie exploded at the box office, grossing over $600 million worldwide on a $30 million budget. It became the highest-grossing R-rated film ever at that time. What stunned Hollywood wasn't just the numbers, but where they came from. Small-town America and faith-based audiences they'd never accounted for. Gibson didn't just make money, he rewrote the industry playbook, proving spiritual storytelling could dominate the global stage. Composer John Debney was tasked with matching Gibson's harrowing vision with sound. Instead of relying only on orchestras, he fused Middle Eastern instruments, wailing voices and pounding drums with traditional strings. The result was haunting, primal, and timeless. The score didn't sit quietly in the background. It thundered like scourging whips and mourned like Mary herself. Debney admitted he often wept while composing, treating the work as prayer rather than craft. His music gave the film a soul beyond its brutality, turning violence into something mythic, unforgettable, and resonant long after the screen went dark. Ironically, Gibson initially considered releasing The Passion with no score at all. He felt silence might force audiences to face the suffering directly, unsoftened by sound. But when Debney's music was finally layered in, Gibson changed his mind. The score became a character of its own, earning 3 Academy Award nominations, including Best Original Score. Debney later admitted it was the most personal work of his career. What nearly remained a silent experiment instead became one of the most haunting and recognized soundtracks of the decade. The silence gave way to something eternal. For many cast and crew, The Passion wasn't just a film, it was a turning point in their faith. Luca Lionello, who played Judas, began filming as a self-described atheist. By the end, he had baptized his children, sanctified his marriage, and returned to Catholicism. Even extras were moved. One actor playing a Roman soldier reportedly sought baptism after filming the scourging scene. Stories spread of audiences experiencing spiritual renewal after screenings. Whether or not every account can be verified, the legacy is undeniable. This film blurred the line between art and spiritual awakening in profound ways. For Caviezel, playing Christ was a sacrifice beyond the screen. After the film's release, he expected Hollywood doors to open. Instead, they slammed shut. Casting directors stopped calling, studios avoided him, and projects slipped away. Mel Gibson had warned him, "You'll never work in this town again." And he was right. Caviezel's career never fully recovered. He became forever linked to Jesus, too radioactive for mainstream Hollywood. Yet Caviezel insists he has no regrets. The role scarred him physically and professionally, but he says it also gave him conviction. Keep watching because Gibson had one final twist in store. For almost 20 years, Gibson has teased a sequel, The Passion of the Christ, Resurrection. Unlike the first, it won't focus on suffering, but the mysterious 3 days between Christ's death and resurrection. Caviezel is set to return, with Gibson calling it the biggest film in history. The project has lingered in development, stirring waves of speculation each time new details emerge. If it ever reaches the screen, expect another storm of debate. The first film was agony carved into celluloid. The second promises to be Gibson's ultimate attempt at transcendence. The Passion of the Christ wasn't just cinema, it was obsession, faith, violence, and controversy wrapped into 2 relentless hours. For some, it was the most powerful religious experience ever captured on film. For others, it was dangerous propaganda. For Gibson and Caviezel, it was sacrifice. Love it or hate it, this film proved faith could shake the box office, divide nations, and scar careers. Which of these facts shocked you most? Drop a comment below and let us know which story you want us to uncover next.